So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this workshop. Hello, brothers and sisters in Malaysia. How are you? We welcome you to be part of our community this evening. And the question that we are going to ask ourselves is truth. What is truth? It's a very interesting question, right? And perhaps I can illustrate it with this little modern-day parable, which is a businessman wanted to ask and hire someone to be in charge of his financial affairs. So he approached a mathematician, an economist, and a lawyer. And he asked them, what or how much is 2 plus 2? So the mathematician said, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And the economist said, 2 plus 2 is approximately 4. And then he asked the lawyer, so how much is 2 plus 2? And the lawyer said, how much do you want it to be, you know? So what is truth? Truth is something that can be stated as it is. Truth can also be approximated, and truth can also be twisted, right? So it is up to us what we want to make truth to be. What is truth is a question that was asked in the Bible by Pontius Pilate when Jesus Christ was standing before him on Holy Thursday, right? And the truth was standing right in front of him. But Pontius Pilate, if he saw it, did not stand up for the truth. Because he knew, even if he knew Jesus was the truth, and he said, I can find nothing wrong with this man. But he gave in to the crowd. He caved in because he wanted to be popular. He wanted to be accepted. He wanted not to rock the boat. And so isn't that how we sometimes see ourselves when we are faced with fake news on social media? And Pope Francis himself said, fake news grasps people's attention precisely by appealing to stereotypes and common social prejudices and instantaneous emotions like our desires to be accepted and our anxiety and our fear and our anger and frustration if we don't get what we desire, right? So here are some examples as to why untrue stories can go viral so quickly. So let's take a look at this post. And for example, you see this picture of Pope Francis. And according to this post, it says that this little girl who was mentally and physically challenged came up to him while he was giving a talk. And she went up to him as he was giving the talk, and she took his hand. And his guards, his palace guards, came to take the little girl away. And the Pope said, no, 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 don't do that. Let her come to me. And he let her sit there while he gave the talk. And the person who put the post said, isn't that so sweet, you know? Let's support this little vulnerable one, or something like that. And so, what was the truth behind this post? They were appealing to the stereotype that, you know, mentally, physically disabled people are pitiful, they are vulnerable, they're out of control, they're not in possession of their faculties, and so they just do these very simpleton kind of gestures and actions. But actually the truth behind this was that the Pope was actually giving a letter of commendation and a talk to special athletes of the Paralympics. And this little girl, far from spontaneously or uncontrollably coming up to disturb the Pope, she was actually going up to give the Pope an award or a certificate from the athletes, you know, to thank him for his support of them. And far from being a vulnerable, pitiful person, or less than a person, she was actually someone who could have been more spiritually or mentally stronger than many of us, you know. And, you know, open to so many prejudices. So this is an example of stereotypes. And the other stereotype is that the guards, oh, you know, guards, we're here to protect the law and to control disturbances. So guards are bad guys, right? And the Pope is saying, no, 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 don't be a bad guy. Don't be a bad guy. I'm the good guy, so let the little children come to me, just like Jesus, you know, a real good role model for us. And that's another stereotype too, pitting like the good cop against the bad cop, you know, Pope is good, guards are bad. That's another stereotype, that law enforcement officers or people of authority are just out to enforce the law and don't follow the spirit of the law. So that's another stereotype that we have, right? That people in uniform are, you know, meant to be avoided or meant to be feared. So that's another stereotype. So here's another one. Emotions. Sometimes posts go viral because they arouse emotions in us. And this is much closer to home. It's at the Church of St. Peter and Paul. And the person who put up this post said, look, what they have done to Mother Mary. You know, her head has been smashed with a hammer. Who could have done such a terrible thing? And we all love Our Lady. And she's so revered, right? Who would have done such a thing? And we are like, we want to go and hammer that guy too, you know. That's the emotion that arises out of us impulsively and spontaneously, right? But actually what happened? It was an accident. It was not intentional at all. And it was just that a tile had fallen, accidentally onto Our Lady's statue. And it was great because a warden had been sitting under the statue, and by the hand of God, she had just got up moments before that tile fell, because it could have bounced on her and hit her head instead. So when the truth was finally revealed, and it was revealed very quickly, it transpired that this incident happened a couple of months before the post. And somebody had actually seen it happen. So when the person who put up the post found out the truth, he immediately rectified his mistake. But what could he have done better? He could have apologized. And you know, it could have been a lesson of humility to say, I should have checked. It would have been so easy just to check with the people at St. Peter and Paul instead of, you know, posting this kind of thing. And it went viral, right? I think it went viral because so many people were so outraged and like, wow, how could this possibly happen to Our Lady? So, this is what Pope Francis said, that it spread so quickly in our community because we are so connected. This is how wired we are in Singapore. And it's similar with our neighbors in Malaysia, right? We are similarly wired. But for us in Singapore, news gets around faster because we are also geographically smaller. We are not just connected through the social media, but also by word of mouth. We see each other in church and then we spread the news, what we have seen, what we have read on our posts, right? And so news and fake news, instead of bringing us closer together through social media, we're supposed to be connected. We're supposed to be wired. We're supposed to be closer. But instead of being connected, we become entangled in all these knots, you know. We get ourselves into these little messes and then we have to undo all these knots. And it's so much easier to spread fake news than to undo the damage that could be done. So it's just like the story of a young man who was always getting angry and he was losing his temper. He was hurting people with his words and with his actions. And he went for confession to a priest and said, you know, Father, I really want to control my impulsiveness, but I can't. And the priest took him to the top of a very tall tower. This was a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, maybe in the medieval times. And he said, take this feather pillow and open the pillow and throw it over the edge of the tower. And so all the feathers came out and the wind blew the feathers all over. And the priest told him, now go and pick up each of the feathers that have been blown in the wind as your penance. And he said, Father, that's impossible. Then he said, but that's the consequence of your words, of your actions, that you spread and that you say and that you do before you even think about it, you know. So maybe that's a lesson for us too, that sometimes we have to pause and look before we leap, right? So let's not get tangled, because who's going to untangle the news, the fake news, if not people like Archcons, people like Andre, you know, they're going to do damage control for the bad impression that maybe our Catholic Church followers, you know, give to people in our diocese. So beware the drums. Do you watch The Lord of the Rings? And you know, they went into the mountains of Moriah, right? And there was dum, dum, dum. And they said, the orcs are coming, the orcs are coming. We're all gonna die. And so, same thing. We have to beware the drums. And what are the drums? What are the warning signs? D stands for distortions, where we distort the truth, where we twist it, right? Rumors. Rumors are things that are unsubstantiated, but they are circulating. Gossip. Are they true or not true? Haven't been established yet. Untruths, lies. And untruths include half-truths. Because truth is 100%, right? If you have anything less than the truth, whether it's half-truth or quarter-truth or 99% of the truth, it's still not 100% truth. So it's also a kind of a deception, a kind of a lie. Myths are things that are fabricated, made up, fairy tales. Sometimes we want things to go our way, to pursue our own agendas, right? So we make up our own stories. No, cannot. And the last one is smears. Smears are meant to discredit, to tear down, to destroy other people, so that perhaps we may feel better, we may be elevated, you know, and we may be made to look good. So beware the drums. And, you know, before you resend or forward a post that you receive on social media, just ask yourselves, are there drums hidden in this message? Right? I mean, it may come from a very legit source, you know, but people can be misinformed. That means they have the wrong information. And having the wrong information, they just pass it on, thinking that is true information. They could be misled by others because maybe the post comes from a person with credibility or authority, or apparent credibility or authority. And last of all, it could be downright evil. It could be malicious. It could be intended to deceive, to destroy. So how are we going to differentiate between the three? So if people are misinformed, that means they innocently pass on information which they think is true. So you don't have any ill intention, but you just, you know, well, let's take a look at this example, right? Let's say this post, you know, there are variations of this post, right? You have seen Pope Francis's 10 steps on how to be happy, you know what I mean? It's like, sounds so good, right? Never give up on people you love, never give up on being happy. Life is an incredible show. Do you honestly think Pope Francis says things like that? Do you read his apostolic exhortations or his encyclicals? If he talks about happiness, if he talks about feeling good, what is the word that he uses? Evangelii Gaudium is the joy of the gospel. Amoris Laetitia is the joy of love. If Gaudate et exultate is rejoice and be glad. So he never used the word happy, he used the word joy. You know, and joy is something more lasting. Joy is something more deep and more profound than happiness. Happiness is a fleeting, temporary satisfaction of a pleasure. Then you feel happy, right? You got a bonus, you feel happy, you know. But joy is, you can be suffering, right? You can be suffering, but you can feel the joy of being loved by God, the joy of being supported by your community. Do you think life is an incredible show? Do you think any Catholic will say that? Life is a way of the cross, right? That's more like us. So, you know, this is definitely coming like from a motivational speaker or somebody who writes Hallmark greeting cards, you know, that kind of thing, right? It won't come from the head of the Catholic Church. You know, Pope Francis says life is a journey along different roads, all of which leave their mark on us. That's something like Pope Francis, right? So, you know, people don't know that people know that they don't have the credibility to make what they want to say go around. So they latch on to somebody else's authority, somebody else's popularity to piggyback their messages. So we have to be very aware, you know. So that means we have to be a little bit more informed about Pope Francis and the teachings of the church, right? So Pope Francis is very popular, no? So they, did the Pope say hell doesn't exist? God has instructed me to revise the 10 Commandments. Really, man? Can you amend the Bible just like that, you know? Can you change the doctrine on heaven, hell, and purgatory? Of course not. You cannot change the catechism of the Catholic Church, right? So do you think Pope Francis, as the servant of the servants of God, would do such a thing? Obviously, that's fake, isn't it? Then the next one is, did Stephen Hawking become a Christian after blessing Pope Francis? That's a myth, right? That's a story. That's wishful thinking. Stephen Hawking has always said he's an atheist and will always remain one, you know. So the first two are untruths, obviously. They're obviously untruths. Huh? So D-R-U-M-S, it's a U. Did Stephen Hawking become a Christian? Well, maybe it's a myth, maybe it's a rumor, but it definitely was proved to be not true. Because people who were at his deathbed said he never heard such a thing. And Pope Francis, I think, actually met him before that at a conference. Because Stephen Hawking is a member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. So that is nothing to do with religion. It's, you know, it's like a think tank and all that on scientific issues. And that was the end of that. So did Pope Francis say it was better to be an atheist than a bad Catholic? Atheist, no. Better than a bad Catholic? What happens to bad Catholics? God loves them even more, right? You know? Huh? Because if, you know, if a person hurts you, then you must go and speak to him one by one. If he doesn't listen, then you get somebody else to go with you. Then if he still doesn't listen, that the community. Then if he doesn't want to listen to the community, treat him like a sinner. And how did God treat sinners? He loved them even more, right? He makan with them. He tried to bring them back on the path to salvation. He never said, be an atheist, you know. Okay, so did Pope Francis forgive 4,444 pedophile priests? What rings untrue about that? Say, wow, you know. And you know, I Googled, how many priests are there in Australia? They're only about 3,000 plus. It's like, so, okay, even if it's like from like how many priests over X number of years, it cannot be, right? No lah, how, you know? So that's truly fake news, okay? That's an untruth. And so did Pope Francis condemn President Trump for issuing a travel ban? That Pope Francis said something about Trump, but it was before the travel ban. So we have to check also the timeline of when things, it's like 2 plus 2, no? 1, 2 today, 1, 2 yesterday, make 4, you know, I mean, it's approximately 4. And approximately 4 is not equal to 4, correct? So, yeah. It's very, I mean, we laugh lah, but you know, sometimes we fall into that track, correct? Because we want to be the first to get the scoop, to send, to forward and say, wow, Michelle, where you get that from? You know, it's so exciting, right? So we have to be very careful because we don't want to smear ourselves in the process, you know. So this is one, which is also an innocent misinformation. Got no picture. Is there a picture? Oh, the picture is missing. This is not fake news. It's supposed to be a picture. You know, have you seen the picture that was circulating about when we had the procession for Our Lady of Fatima at one of the evening masses? Where, I think it was May 13th, right? And there was a picture where this lady said, "Hey, Mother Mary is hovering over the statue. She looks very translucent and very transparent like that, and she seems to be floating." Do you see that one? No, good. That's good. I mean, no. I mean, did you see that? I'm not saying did you see that one in real life. I'm saying did you see that one posted or going viral? Ah, yes. So was that true or false? Obviously, it was false because what was happening is that there was it was being videoed, right? So when you make a transfer from one screen to another, this is a screen grab at the very moment the transition was made. So, you know, at the very chun moment the transition is made, you see kind of like double and you see kind of blurry and you see, yeah, so it's like, wow, it's like, yes, we wish we had seen Our Lady, but it just obviously wasn't true, you know? So it was just, it's our emotion, our desire, our wishful thinking to see Our Lady. Because to see Our Lady is to be blessed by her, right? So you want people to say, I was blessed by Our Lady, I didn't see leh, how come you so blessed one and I not lah? You know? So Pope Francis says there's no such thing as harmless disinformation. Harmless disinformation is what we call an oxymoron, you know? Like you say somebody is pretty ugly, or you say, you know, you are a sinless Catholic, you know, where got such thing, you know? The first word is the opposite of the other. Is that me? No. Okay, so trusting in a falsehood can have dire consequences. Even a slight distortion of the truth can have dangerous effects. So if you are 2 degrees off from your starting point, by the time you travel 100 kilometers, you are very far away, right? You will definitely be off target. It's the same. So you do not know how the consequences of your actions can snowball into something dire, you know? So, yeah. Okay. So, next. Okay. Another thing is that we can be misinformed by other people's personal opinions. And by assuming that, for example, norms in Catholic teaching or liturgy can apply to us in the Singapore context. So you have seen this going around, right? That we cannot do like this during the Our Father. You know, so long already we've been doing like this during Our Father. Now we must put our hands together and pray. And so is this true or false? True or not? Is it true that we are not allowed to put our hands like that because only the priest can do that? And we are not supposed to be priest wannabes. Can or not? Can or cannot? The other group said, no, cannot do it, no. But actually you can. I mean, there's no rule in the general instructions of the Roman Missal that say the laity cannot put their hands like this. In fact, the GIRM is quiet on the position of the hands of the laity. It says the priest must do this, but it doesn't say anything about the laity. So if certain clergy say that you cannot do like this, but you can do like this, then that's a personal opinion. So obviously, if you are in that parish, then you obey, right? Because Catholics obey. But if not, then there's no hard and fast rule. So all Fridays in Lent are days of abstinence from meat. True or false? False. Why? All Fridays? All Fridays in Lent? No. All Fridays? Okay, it could be all Fridays throughout the year, but like, let's say if it's Chinese New Year, then how? Then you're excused, right? You can be excused. Or you don't have to abstain from meat, or you don't have to fast. You can do another penitential act, like a corporate or spiritual work of mercy, right? You can, yeah. So it's this, there's this picture, there's no picture as well. Never mind, it's okay. That was from a US website, which sometimes does not apply to our Singapore context because we have, you know, like Chinese New Year, we have days of festival and things that they may not have down there, okay? So these are examples of misinformation. They look good, they look correct, but if you think about it a little bit more carefully, there's more to it than meets the eye. So we have to be discerning. We have to be discerning, and this kind of thing can easily be checked, right or not, with your priest or whatever. So, misinformed. So the first one was misinformed. So confusion among the laity to discern whether it's personal opinion or not, and to assume. If we assume and we've jumped to conclusions, then actually we look very stupid, right? So when you assume, when you assume, you can really, like me, really make, what is this? Okay, you can really make an ass of you and me, correct? No? So don't assume, always discern and pray and pause. So people are also misled. That means they are taken down the garden path, you know. So spreading fake news can serve to advance specific goals, influence political decisions, and serve economic interests. In other words, they can be used to propagate other people's agendas. And you may do so unwittingly, correct? So this is a website that looks like it's very authoritative. It's a online bookstore. You can, like one of the online bookstores, right? They have this book for sale. And it looks, wow, the Catechism of Catholic Ethics. It looks so good, right? A work of Roman Catholic moral authority by Ronald L. Conte Jr. And you think Jr. is like a new order of priest or something like that, you know? They say, wow, this work looks very legit. But actually, if you take a look at that book and you look inside it, there's no nihil obstat, which means that it is free from doctrinal error. And there's no imprimatur, which means approval for it to be printed. In fact, if you actually read the book, you will find that it's not actually very well written. It's quite amateurish, you know, but it's very thick. And and he uses the title, The Catechism of Catholic Ethics, because it really sounds like the Catechism of the Catholic Church, right? But actually it's just written by a layperson, and you don't really even know what qualifications he has, you know? So if we just, so basically it's don't judge a book by its cover, right? So, okay, so then this also is a little bit more subtle. This is when it comes to voting, specific moral issues in voting. This actually came from a US website, but it says if the political candidate is not pro-life, if it is pro-euthanasia, and if it is pro-LGBT, then you should not vote for them, you know, you should just vote for the other party or the other candidate. But politics is not so simple, correct or not? So actually when we had the elections in 2015, His Grace actually came up with a pastoral letter to say that yes, we should be discerning when we vote. Things like this should be taken into account, but at the end of the day, we have to consider the social teachings of the Catholic Church, which tell us that above all, we must consider, put not just the dignity of the human person at the forefront, but also the common good. Not just of ourselves, but of our community or our party, but of the whole country. So you just cannot pick and choose. It's not so simple. It's like not like a pregnancy test, you know. Blue is pregnant, pink is not. No, that kind of thing, right? It's not so easy. So we have to take the big picture into account. And in the Catholic social teachings, the compendium of the social teachings of the Catholic Church, the magisterium teaches that the Church is not an expert on politics. The Church is only an expert on humanity. So we should not involve ourselves too much in politics, which is what this website is making us do. It's okay? So we have also to be very, careful, because unknowingly we may be pursuing the agenda of the person or the party or the group that put up this website, you know. Okay, so because I'm running out of time, the primary function of the Church is to instruct and illuminate the consciences of the faithful, particularly those involved in political life, so that their actions may always serve the integral promotion of the human person and of the common good. So it's not just so narrowly defined, it's more than that. So if you want to know more about what His Grace said, you just go to the Catholic, you know, the Archdiocesan website, and you go down there, you will find it. So people are misinformed, they are misled, and they are malicious. So if you take a look at this one, fake news discredits, fake news demonizes, fake news divides, fake news destroys. And especially now in Singapore, where religious harmony is so important and there's such a fear of racial tension, we must be very careful that we do not spread or, you know, or even consider looking at websites like these, which incidentally is Catholic run, but from the West, and they are very anti-Islam for reasons of their own. And what they are trying to do with all these sensational headlines, vehicular attacker was Muslim, Muslim migrants gang rape, you know, again, rape, violence, you know, terror, disorder. What this person is trying to do is drive a wedge, drive a division between Catholics and Muslims. Similarly with this one, this is even more draconian, right? Crush the eggs of the baby serpents before they hatch, you know, which is like Muslims. The sodomite, the atheist, the fanatic, feminist, all must be deemed as criminals. So Muslims are tarred with the same brush as all these terrible, terrible people, you know. So how can, you know? It's impossible. This is hate speech, and this is not something that we should propagate. Pope Francis says that we are called to say no, a very firm no, to every attempt to discredit and bring down other religions. We are not in competition with other religions. We are called to collaborate. We are called to say yes to diversity between us and others. We are not like us against them, you know. we are Catholics, you know, all the rest are our enemies. No, we are not meant to be so extreme or fundamental. We are called to embrace differences. We are called to be open, and as Pope Francis says, we are called to participate in a culture of encounter, dialogue and openness, to build bridges instead of walls, and say no to every attempt to impose uniformity. It doesn't mean everybody must be the same religion or everybody must think the same way. Unity is not uniformity, that's what he says. He celebrates unity in diversity. And so, yes, we must say yes to a diversity that is accepted, embraced, and reconciled. In other words, we must be mediators of peace. So this is not, you see, look at what do you think are the fruits of this kind of post, right? A tree is known by its fruits, correct? So, do you want to spread rotten fruit? No. So, we have to be very careful now because in this region, racial and religious harmony is in a state of very fragile peace. So we must do our part as good Catholics, as good citizens, to promote peace and harmony wherever we are. Okay? And we have the Maintenance of Religious Harmony Act in Singapore, no? So the government is taking it very seriously. It respects the Catholic Church and His Grace a lot, and we must do our part as the flock. And because His Grace, right, is also such a popular person and he's very well respected, his Facebooks have also been cloned. So you see two Facebooks up there. Which one is the true one? Which one is the false one? Which is the real page? Estella will tell you the answer later, together with the questions of the quiz. Bianca, you're taking down the quiz already. Yeah, so which one is the real one? Sorry? The right. Okay, how many say right? This is the right. How many say right? How many say left? How many say yes? No, cannot. That's what I said one day to my husband. He said, do I turn right here or do I turn left? I said yes, okay? Because I don't know how to navigate. So which is the correct one? Which is the real one? Okay, actually it's the left one, because you see it's a closed group. It's secure. You see the padlock sign? This is the secure group. This one is not. But this one looks so convincing, right? And that's why the devil is very subtle. The devil is very convincing, as we shall learn from Estella in the second part of the talk. Yeah, so we have to be very, very careful. And if you're not sure, just ask. Ask and you shall receive clarification, you know. So Pope Francis, this is the last bit, I'm dragging a bit, but Pope Francis says, well, he was talking about capitalism and money, but I like his phrase, dung of the devil, because it brings me to the last part. Is like, we must really ascertain whether what we are forwarding, whether what we are posting is crap. Not just crap, but crap. Is it crap? So is it current? When did it happen? Is it relevant? On whose authority was this written? And how accurate is it? And at the end of the day, what is its purpose? Is it really to promote the gospel, or is it to divide, destroy, foment division, etc., etc.? So let me give you an example. Have you seen this drink? It's a Monster drink, right? And there's a YouTube post. You just Google Monster energy drink is a drink of Satan, you know, which is one lady. It looks like it is in the West because she has a very heavy accent. You just Google, and she says this is a monster drink from Satan. Why? Because M is for monster. But if you take a look at this, right, you have three symbols like this, like this, like this. She said one of these in Hebrew stands for the number 6. So when you put 3 in a row like that, it's the number 666. Not only that, it says as a slogan on the side, unleash the beast. And who is the beast? With the number 666. If not, dun, 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 you know. And then you said, look at the word monster, the O. The O has a cross in it. Does the cross stand for Jesus Christ? No. It stands for Antichrist. Read together with M, and unleash the beast. It must refer to the Antichrist. Why? Because when you open the can and you drink it, oh, you turn the cross upside down, and upside down cross is that of the devil. So it says, don't drink this energy drink. So at the end of the day, right, do you want to post it? Because the site that I Googled, the one that comes up first, has already got 10 million overhits at the time I looked at it. And if you look at others, there are other millions or tens of thousands, you know, and it's like, it's so popular because it's so sensational. But we have to ask ourselves, is it current? When was this post put up? You know, it could have been like so long ago and we are still posting it. You know, sometimes, just recently I got a post which says Pope Francis has fallen down the second time, right? And then when you look at it, it's like, wow, long time ago lah, you know, when it first came out, he didn't fall any second time. You know, if he had, the Vatican would have made some press release or something, correct? So sometimes stuff is not current. Stuff is not relevant. You know, you want to post this kind of video thing on your intercessory group chat or your, you know, or your prayer group and all that. Is it really relevant? What good does it do? Do the people on your group chat drink Monster energy drink in the first place? You know what I mean? And even if they do, is it going to affect your faith? And who is this woman anyway, right? What authority is she to talk about Monster energy drink like this? Does she work for a rival soft drink company, you know, trying to tear down the sales of Monster? Or does she work for Monster, you know, and by being sensational, trying to boost its sales and create awareness of the brand? You don't know what is their purpose, right? And how accurate is it? So if you look at Hebrew, if Hebrew refers to the number 666, they will never say 666, they will say 666, which is something totally different. And so this is all I want to say, because the time's up notice at the back, but you know, we really have to be discerning. That's Eugene at the back. And we really have to be discerning when we see things and when we read things on the internet. So at the end of the day, remember that we are dealing with sometimes, you know, as St. Paul says in his letter to the Ephesians, principalities and dominions and spirituality is not of this world, right? And we have to keep the armor of God on at all times. So you must wear this helmet of salvation, the shield of faith, you know, the breastplate of righteousness, the sandals of the gospel of peace. But above all, we must also have the belt of truth, right? Why must we have the belt of truth? Truth, huh? Coming back to the question, what is truth? What do you need a belt for? If you don't have a belt, you'll be caught with your pants down, right? So we don't want that. So don't twist the truth. Don't distort it. Always stand up for the truth at Jesus. Yeah? Amen. Thank you.